Launched 3 years before the new century, Cassini has been sending a stream of images and data across nearly 1.5 billion kilometers to Earth. On the 1st of July 2004, the Cassini probe entered the orbit of Saturn. It then began to compile what has become one of the greatest photographic collections of all time, of a giant gas planet surrounded by colorful rings, guarded by a diverse collection of moons, and millions of tiny moonlets. It has been able to draw an impressive portrait of a ringed planet, a turbulent gas giant. Cassini's sensors captured a storm that raged across Saturn's southern hemisphere for months, generating lightning strikes thousands of times more powerful than those on Earth. They documented a giant cyclone spinning around at Saturn's south pole. Its eye is so big, you could drop the entire continental United States into it without touching the cloud walls. Cassini radioed back unprecedented new details of Saturn's most famous feature, its rings. In the year 1610, the Italian astronomer Galileo Galilei discovered these broad, flat, concentric bands. But he didn't realize they were actually rings, nor had he any clue how intricate they are, or where they came from. Until recently, the reigning theory held that the rings were made up of debris from a small moon destroyed in a collision. But they are now known to be 99.9% water ice. A recent study suggests that Saturn's rings formed when the planet swallowed one of its moons. In the process, its gravity stripped the moon of its icy surface, which remained in orbit and spread out to form the rings. And from the rings, smaller ice moons like Enceladus took shape. The Hubble Space Telescope showed that Saturn's rings stretch more than 240,000 kilometers across. Yet in some places they are as little as 10 meters thick. If you were to shrink Saturn down to the size of a basketball, the rings would be about 1/250th the thickness of a human hair. Around Saturn, everything acts upon everything else. Moons and countless tiny moonlets pull and tug on ring particles, shaping and twisting and clearing lanes in a dance of twilight moons. The medium-sized moon Mimas, orbiting close in to Saturn, has hollowed out a large gap called the Cassini division. Some tiny moons ride within the rings. Prometheus and Pandora actually hold the F-ring in line. And across the ring plane, spokes of different colored dust occasionally cling like strands of hair on a cold, dry day. Like the rings, Saturn's moons each tell a different story, drawing us in for a closer look. There's dense little Dione, hard rock covered with ice, pummeled on one side by asteroids that left a system of craggy cliff faces. Hyperion looks like a sponge. It's an oddly shaped world that tumbles chaotically. Iapetus, with one hemisphere brighter than snow and the other darker than tar. A strange ridge, like the spine of a rhino, runs around its equator. It's the moons Titan and Enceladus that continue to steal the show. Compared to many of its sister moons, Enceladus has fewer craters. Its landscape is fractured and wrinkled, a sign that it's constantly being reshaped by geologic activity. The moon Titan is often said to resemble Earth in its early days. It is lined with volcanoes and a hazy atmosphere rich in organic compounds. At this point, no one can say whether Saturn's moons have ignited the spark of life. They have certainly ignited our imaginations.